The job posting said after-school care, flexible hours, competitive pay. It didn't mention the address would belong to one of the most powerful men in the city, or that taking it would change everything.
Before we begin, please take a second to like this video and subscribe. It really supports the channel and lets me know you want more mafia romances.
The morning came too early, but then again, they always did. I stood at my bathroom mirror, the fluorescent light buzzing overhead, and tried to make myself look like someone who had slept more than 4 hours. Concealer under my eyes, mascara to create the illusion of alertness, hair pulled back in a neat ponytail that said professional instead of exhausted single mother who worked the late shift at the diner last night. "Mom," Erin's voice carried from the kitchen, bright and unconcerned with the time. "Can I have chocolate chips in my pancakes?" "Regular pancakes today, baby," I called back, applying lipstick with the practice speed of someone who'd learned to get ready in under 10 minutes. "We're out of chocolate chips." I'd add them to the list, right below milk, cereal, and the other dozen things we needed but couldn't quite afford until Friday's paycheck cleared. In the kitchen, Aaron sat at our small table, swinging his legs and coloring a picture of what appeared to be a dinosaur driving a spaceship. He was 6 years old, all wild curls and endless energy, and the best thing that had ever happened to me. "Is today your interview?" he asked, not looking up from his masterpiece. "It is." I flipped the pancakes, watching bubbles form on the surface. "Mrs. Chen is picking you up from school today, remember?" "I remember." He added flames coming from the spaceship's engines. "What's the job?" "Taking care of a little boy after school. Someone about your age." "Will he like dinosaurs?" "I don't know yet, baby, but I hope so." The truth was, I knew almost nothing about the position. The job posting had been sparse. After-school childcare needed, ages 6 to 8, must be patient, reliable, and excellent with children. Competitive pay. An address, a time for the interview. No name, no phone number, just an email that had responded to my application within an hour. "Interview scheduled for 2 p.m. Thursday. Please arrive promptly." It was unusual, but I needed unusual right now. I needed a second job that worked around my son's schedule and paid more than minimum wage. The diner covered rent and groceries, but barely. Aaron needed new shoes, the car needed an oil change. My student loans were creeping toward default. So I'd take unusual if it meant keeping us afloat. By 1:45 p.m., I was standing outside an address that couldn't possibly be right. Hartley Innovations occupied a gleaming tower of glass and steel in downtown Seattle. I'd passed this building 100 times, always craning my neck to see the top, never imagining I'd actually walk inside. The job posting had said childcare. This was corporate, intimidating, wrong. I checked the address 3 times. Same number, same street. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe I'd written it down wrong. But I was already here, and I needed this job desperately enough to at least ask. The lobby was all marble and modern art. A security guard sat behind a sleek desk, eyeing me with the expression of someone who could spot an outsider immediately. "Can I help you?" His tone suggested I'd already failed some invisible test. "I have an interview at 2 o'clock for a childcare position." His expression shifted. Surprise, then recognition. "Ah, you're here for Mr. Hartley, penthouse level." He gestured towards a private elevator. "Code is 4738. Mr. Hartley, as in the Hartley. As in the CEO whose face I'd seen on magazine covers at the grocery store checkout, always looking serious and untouchable. As in completely out of my league." My hands shook slightly as I pressed the elevator button. This was insane. I should leave. The doors opened. I stepped inside before I could overthink it further. The elevator rose smoothly, my reflection staring back at me from polished walls. I looked small, nervous, exactly like someone who didn't belong in a place like this. The doors opened directly into a penthouse that was more museum than home. All clean lines, expensive furniture, and an overwhelming sense that nothing here had ever been touched by actual life. A man stood with his back to me, phone to his ear, silhouetted against floor-to-ceiling windows. "I'll call you back," he said, voice clipped and professional. He turned, and I got my first real look at Evan Hartley. The magazines hadn't done him justice. Or maybe they'd done too much because they'd never captured the exhaustion in his dark eyes, the tightness around his mouth, the way he looked like someone holding himself together through sheer force of will. "Miss Cole." He didn't extend his hand. "Thank you for coming." "Mr. Hartley, I have to admit I'm a bit confused about the position. The job posting didn't mention that it was for me. I know. That was intentional." He gestured toward a seating area near the windows. "Please, sit." I sat on the edge of an expensive-looking couch, my thrift store purse feeling suddenly very shabby against the pristine upholstery. Evan remained standing, hands in his pockets, looking at me with an intensity that made me want to fidget. He needed someone to care for his nephew, Leo. He's 7. He's lived with me for 4 months since his brother and sister-in-law died in a car accident. "I'm so sorry." "Thank you." The words were automatic, rehearsed from too many condolences. Leo doesn't speak much, barely eats, rarely sleeps through the night. Every childcare specialist I've hired has quit within 2 weeks. "Why?" "Because he won't respond to them. Won't engage. One woman said she..." He stopped, jaw clenching. Anger flared hot in my chest. "That's not true." "How do you know?" "Because children aren't damaged. They're hurt. There's a difference." I leaned forward slightly. "Where is he now?" "His room. He's always in his room." "Can I meet him?" Something shifted in Evan's expression, maybe surprise that I'd asked. Most candidates want to discuss salary first, hours, responsibilities. "I want to meet the child I'd be caring for. Everything else is secondary." For 3 full seconds, he just looked at me. Then he nodded once, sharply. "Follow me." We walked down a hallway lined with closed doors. The penthouse was silent, heavy with absence. No laughter, no life, just expensive emptiness. Evan stopped at a door painted pale blue. He knocked softly. "Leo, there's someone I'd like you to meet." No response. He opened the door carefully and I followed him inside. The room was perfect. Expensive furniture, shelves of untouched toys, a bed with crisp white linens, and in the corner, curled up in a beanbag chair with a book in his lap, was a small boy with dark hair and haunted eyes. He looked up when we entered, his gaze flickering to me before returning to his book. Not hostile, just absent. My heart broke a little. I didn't move closer, didn't speak, just knelt down slowly, making myself smaller, less threatening. "Hi, Leo," I said softly. "My name is Maya." "That looks like a good book. What are you reading?" Silence. Evan shifted behind me, probably preparing to apologize, to explain, to fill the quiet with excuses. But I waited. Sometimes children needed space before they needed words. Finally, so quietly I almost missed it. "Dragons." "Dragons are cool. My son loves dragons too. His favorite is the one from that movie about the Viking boy. Have you seen it?" The smallest nod. "That's his favorite too. He's 6. His name is Aaron. He talks about dragons all the time. Drives me a little crazy sometimes, but I don't mind. It's nice when people love things that much." Leo's eyes flickered to me again, lingering this time. "Do you have a favorite dragon?" Another long pause, then barely audible. "The night fury." "That's a good one. He's loyal, fierce when he needs to be, but gentle with people he trusts." I stood slowly. "I'm going to talk to your uncle for a bit, but I hope I get to talk to you again about dragons. Maybe Aaron could come over sometime. He'd like that." I walked back to the door, where Evan stood frozen, staring at his nephew like he'd just witnessed a miracle, because in 4 months, Leo had barely spoken 10 words. He'd just spoken 12 to me. Leo just spoke more words to Maya in 5 minutes than he has in months. What do you think made him trust her so quickly? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I love hearing what you notice about these moments. We stood in Evan's office, a space as sterile as the rest of the penthouse, while he stared at me like I'd performed some kind of magic trick. "How did you do that?" His voice was rough, almost accusatory. "I didn't do anything. I just talked to him." Every specialist I've hired has just talked to him. None of them got more than a nod. I thought about how to explain something I'd learned through necessity, not training. Most people talk at children. They ask questions that demand performance. "How are you feeling? Can you tell me about your day?" Kids who are hurting can't always perform on command. So what did you do differently? I gave him space, asked about something neutral, his book, made it clear I wasn't expecting anything from him. I met Evan's gaze, and I told him about Aaron. Sometimes kids trust other kids faster than they trust adults. If Leo knows there's another child who might understand him, that's less scary than talking to grown-ups who want to fix him. Evan was quiet for a long moment, processing. Then, "The job is yours if you want it." "You haven't told me the hours, the salary, the expectations." "I don't care about that. I care that my nephew just spoke to someone for the first time in 4 months." He moved to his desk, pulled out a folder. "Weekdays, 3 to 7 p.m. Weekends as needed with advance notice. $50 an hour. You'd pick Leo up from school, bring him here, help with homework, dinner, bedtime routine." $50 an hour. That was more than I made in an entire shift at the diner. "That's too much," I heard myself say. His eyebrow raised. "You're negotiating down?" "I'm being realistic. That's executive level pay for basic childcare." "It's not basic childcare. It's keeping my nephew from disappearing entirely into himself." His voice dropped. "It's giving me hope that maybe he won't be broken forever. That's worth far more than $50 an hour." The raw honesty in his voice made my throat tight. This wasn't a CEO making a business decision. This was a man desperate to save a child he loved but didn't know how to reach. "I'll take the job," I said quietly, "but I have conditions." "Name them." "I bring Aaron with me sometimes, not every day, but regularly. If Leo's going to trust me, he needs to see I have a life outside of this penthouse, and having another child around might help." "Done. What else?" "I need you to trust me, my methods, my timing, my instincts. If you hire me, you're hiring my judgment. That means not questioning every decision or hovering over us." His jaw tightened. Clearly this would be hard for him, but after a moment, "Agreed." And I hesitated, knowing this one might be a deal breaker. "You have to be present sometimes, not working in your office while we're in another room, actually present. Leo needs to see you trying too." Something flickered across his face. Fear, maybe, or pain. I don't know how to talk to him. Neither did I before today, but I tried. That's what he needs. Adults who keep trying even when it's hard. The silence stretched between us. I thought he might refuse, might decide I was asking too much. Instead, he extended his hand and, "You start tomorrow." I shook it, his grip firm and warm, and felt the weight of what I'd just agreed to settle onto my shoulders. This wasn't just a job, it was a child's healing, a family's hope, and somehow, impossibly, it was now my responsibility. That evening, I told Aaron about the new job while we ate spaghetti at our tiny kitchen table. "So, I'll be taking care of a boy named Leo. He's 7, a little older than you. He's been through something really hard, so he might be quiet at first." Aaron twirled noodles on his fork thoughtfully. "Did someone hurt him?"
his parents died, so he's very sad. My son processed this with the serious expression he got when thinking about big concepts. Is he going to live with that man forever, the one who hired you? I think so. The man is his uncle. Does his uncle know how to be a dad? The question was so perceptive it took my breath away. I don't think so, baby. I think he's learning, like you learned to be a mom. I smiled, remembering those terrifying early days after Aaron was born, single, 22, convinced I'd ruin everything. Yeah, like that. Then maybe I can help Leo, since I know what it's like to only have one parent. He said it matter-of-factly, without self-pity. I can show him it's not so scary. I reached across the table and squeezed his hand. You're pretty amazing, you know that. I know, you tell me all the time. He grinned, then grew serious again. Mom, are you going to fall in love with Leo's uncle? The question came out of nowhere and everywhere at once. What? No, baby, I'm just his employee. He hired me to... But he's sad too, right? And you always help sad people. You helped Mrs. Chen when her husband died. You helped Tommy at school when the other kids were mean. You help everyone. That's different. How? I didn't have a good answer, so I just said, eat your spaghetti. But as I cleaned up dinner and got Aaron ready for bed, his question lingered. Are you going to fall in love with Leo's uncle? Of course not. Evan Hartley was my employee, a CEO, someone who lived in a world of penthouses and private elevators while I lived paycheck to paycheck in a one-bedroom apartment. We existed in completely different universes. The fact that his eyes had looked desperate and vulnerable when he'd asked me to help his nephew meant nothing. The fact that my heart had stuttered when he'd said Leo's name with such careful, aching love meant nothing. It was just a job. I'd keep Leo safe, help him heal, collect my paycheck, and maintain professional boundaries. Simple. Except the next day, when I picked Leo up from his private school and saw him waiting alone on a bench while other children played loudly around him, something in my chest cracked open. He looked so small, so lost. I knelt down in front of him. Hey, dragon expert, ready to go home? He nodded, shouldered his backpack, and slipped his small hand into mine. And just like that, I knew this job would be anything but simple, because Leo had just trusted me with more than his hand. He'd trusted me with his fragile, wounded heart. And somewhere in the back of my mind, I realized Evan had too. The first 2 weeks followed a careful rhythm. I'd pick Leo up at 3 p.m., his small hand finding mine automatically now. We'd ride the elevator to the penthouse in comfortable silence, and I'd make him a snack while he did homework at the kitchen table. Simple things, consistent things. Apples with peanut butter, cheese and crackers, sometimes chocolate milk, which he'd drink while carefully coloring inside the lines of his worksheets. He still didn't speak much, but his silence felt different now, less like absence and more like observation. He was watching me, learning to trust me in increments. Evan was harder to read. He'd work in his office during our hours, door closed, only emerging for brief check-ins that felt more like inspections than interactions. How was school? He'd ask Leo, his voice careful, formal. Leo would nod or shrug. Evan would look to me for translation, and I'd fill the silence. He got a gold star in math today. His teacher said he's doing really well with multiplication. That's good, Evan would say, but he'd be looking at his nephew like he was a puzzle with missing pieces. Then he'd retreat back to his office, and Leo would relax slightly, the tension draining from his small shoulders. It broke my heart a little more each time. He's trying, I told Leo one afternoon while we built a fort out of couch cushions. Your uncle, he just doesn't know how to show it yet. Leo placed a pillow carefully on top of our structure. He never plays. It was the most he'd volunteered about Evan directly. Progress. He probably doesn't know how. Some grown-ups forget. Did you forget? Sometimes, but then your son reminds me. I smiled. Aaron's really good at that, making sure grown-ups remember how to have fun. Is he coming today? It was Friday, which meant Aaron would join us after school. The 3 Fridays they'd spent together so far had been transformative. Leo laughed around Aaron, actually laughed, a sound so bright and unexpected that the first time I'd heard it, I'd nearly cried. He is. He's bringing his dragon book to show you. Leo's eyes lit up, the first genuine excitement I'd seen from him. The one with the night fury facts? That exact one. We finished the fort just as the elevator dinged. Aaron bounded in, backpack flying, already talking before he'd fully entered the room. Leo, guess what? My teacher said we're doing a unit on mythology and we get to pick our own creature to research. And I'm obviously doing dragons, but she said I could focus on Chinese dragons instead of European ones, which is so cool because... He stopped mid-sentence, finally noticing the fort. Whoa, is that for us? Leo nodded shyly. That's awesome. Can we add more pillows? I brought my sleeping bag in case we wanted to make it bigger. Mom said it was okay. It's okay, I confirmed, watching Leo's face break into a rare smile as Aaron dragged his sleeping bag toward the fort. Within minutes, they disappeared inside it, flashlight illuminating the fabric walls, their voices carrying in excited whispers about dragons and mythology and which one would win in a fight. I was cleaning up the kitchen when I felt eyes on me. Evan stood in the doorway to his office, watching the fort, watching his nephew's face, visible through a gap in the cushions, lit up with joy. He's happy, Evan said quietly. He is. I haven't seen him happy since... He stopped, swallowed hard. Since before his parents died, before his world shattered, before he became the responsibility of an uncle who worked 70-hour weeks and didn't know how to process his own grief, let alone a child's. He's getting there, I said gently. It takes time. You make it look easy. It's not easy, it's just... I searched for the right words. It's about being present, consistent, letting him know he's safe. I don't know how to do that. The admission came out rough, almost angry, not at me, but at himself. I don't know how to be what he needs. Before I could respond, Aaron's head popped out of the fort. Mr. Hartley, do you want to see our dragon fort? Leo helped build it, and it's really cool, and we have a flashlight and everything. Evan froze, clearly not expecting the invitation. Leo's face appeared next to Aaron's, hopeful and terrified in equal measure. This was it, the moment where Evan either stepped forward or retreated. I held my breath. Evan started. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it reflexively, and I saw the exact moment he chose work over connection. I have a conference call. Maybe later. The hope drained from Leo's face so quickly it was like watching a light turn off. Okay, he said quietly, and disappeared back into the fort. Aaron looked at me, confusion clear in his expression. I gave him a small shake of my head. Not now, and he retreated too. Evan was already walking back toward his office, phone to his ear, voice shifting into professional mode. Yes, I'm here. Let's discuss the third quarter projections. The door closed. I stood in that massive, expensive penthouse and felt my frustration build into something sharp and hot. When the call ended 20 minutes later, I knocked on his office door without waiting for permission to enter. Evan looked up, surprised. Miss Cole, he asked you to see his fort. Your nephew, who barely speaks, who barely trusts anyone, asked you to spend time with him, and you chose a conference call. His jaw tightened. That call was important. More important than him? I didn't say that. You didn't have to. He heard it anyway. I crossed my arms. You hired me to help Leo, but I can't do this alone. He needs you, Mr. Hartley, not just someone who pays for his school and food and shelter. He needs you to show up. I am showing up. I'm working to provide for him, to give him stability. Stability isn't the same as presence. He doesn't need a bank account. He needs an uncle who'll sit in a blanket fort and talk about dragons even when it's uncomfortable. It's not uncomfortable. It's something breaking in his expression. It's terrifying. Every time I look at him, I see my brother. I see everything I lost, everything he lost, and I don't know how to—" His voice cracked. "I don't know how to be enough for him." The anger drained out of me, replaced by something softer. You don't have to be enough, you just have to try. What if trying isn't sufficient? It's more sufficient than not trying at all. I moved closer to his desk. "Mr. Hartley, Leo doesn't need perfect, he needs real. He needs you to make mistakes and show him it's okay to be messy and scared and not have all the answers." Evan was quiet for a long moment, his hands flat on his desk, his shoulders tight with tension. "My brother was the warm one," he said finally, "the one who knew how to connect with people, make them laugh, make them feel seen. I was always the cold one, the one who understood spreadsheets and strategy, but not people." "That's not true, isn't it? You've been here 2 weeks and Leo is already more comfortable with you than he's ever been with me. You're warm, natural. I'm learning just like he is. Mr. Hartley, Leo doesn't need you to be your brother. He needs you to be you, even if that means being scared and awkward and not knowing what to say in a blanket fort." He looked at me then, really looked, and I saw the fear beneath his control. Not fear of failure, fear of loss, fear that if he let himself love his nephew fully, losing him would destroy what little was left of his heart. "I'll try," he said quietly. "That's all I'm asking." The next Friday, when Aaron and Leo built another fort, Evan emerged from his office without prompting. "Is there room for one more?" he asked, his voice uncertain. Leo's face transformed. "Yes!" I watched Evan fold his tall frame awkwardly into the pillow structure, his expensive suit completely out of place among sleeping bags and flashlights and excited 7-year-olds. "So," he said carefully, "tell me about these dragons." And for the next hour, while I made dinner and pretended not to listen, I heard Evan ask questions and Leo answer them, their voices growing more comfortable with each exchange. It wasn't perfect. Evan was stiff at first, clearly out of his element, but he stayed, he tried. And when I glanced over and saw Leo leaning against his uncle's arm while Aaron demonstrated proper dragon-flying techniques, I felt something dangerous bloom in my chest. Pride, hope, and something else I refused to name, because Evan Hartley was my employer. This was my job. The warmth spreading through me when I watched him finally connect with his nephew meant nothing. It couldn't mean anything. I'd keep my distance, maintain professionalism, remember that people like him didn't fall for people like me. Except that evening, when everyone had gone and I was gathering my things to leave, Evan stopped me at the elevator. "Thank you," he said simply. "For what?" "For not giving up on him. On me." The way he said it, quiet, vulnerable, with those dark eyes holding me, made my breath catch. "I don't give up easily, Mr. Hartley." "Evan," he corrected. "When it's just us, call me Evan." The intimacy of the request felt like crossing a line I'd promised myself I wouldn't cross. "Evan," I repeated, and watched something shift in his expression. The elevator arrived. I stepped inside, and he held the door. "Same time Monday?" he asked. "Same time Monday." The doors closed, and I leaned against the wall, my heart pounding harder than it should. This was dangerous, the way he looked at me, the way I was starting to look at him. But I was already in too deep to walk away, not from Leo, who was finally starting to heal, and maybe, terrifyingly, not from Evan either.
3 weeks later, Leo's school called during my shift at the diner. "Miss Cole, this is Principal Harrison from Westbrook Academy. We have you listed as Leo Hartley's emergency contact." My stomach dropped. "Is he okay?" "He's safe, but there was an incident. Another student made some comments about his parents, and Leo became very upset. We've been unable to reach Mr. Hartley. Can you come?" I was already untying my apron. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. I found Leo in the nurse's office, curled in a chair, his face blotchy from crying. The moment he saw me, he ran into my arms. Hey, you're okay," I murmured, stroking his hair. "I'm here." Tommy said my mom and dad didn't want me anymore. That's why they left. His voice was muffled against my shoulder, small and broken. Rage flared hot in my chest, but I kept my voice gentle. Tommy was very wrong. Your parents loved you more than anything. What happened to them was an accident, a terrible, unfair accident, but it had nothing to do with wanting you. Then why did they leave? It was the question every grieving child asked, the impossible one with no good answer. Because sometimes terrible things happen that nobody wants and nobody can control. It's not fair and it's not right, but it's not because of anything you did wrong. I pulled back to look at him. Your parents would give anything to still be here with you. Anything. He nodded against my chest, still crying but quieter now. Principal Harrison appeared with paperwork. We've suspended Tommy for 3 days. This kind of bullying is unacceptable. I signed the forms with one hand while holding Leo with the other, then carried him out to my car. He fell asleep on the drive to the penthouse, exhausted from emotion. I carried him up in the elevator, his head heavy on my shoulder, and used the key Evan had given me to let us inside. The penthouse was dark. Evan wasn't home yet. I settled Leo on the couch, covered him with a blanket, and called Evan's office line. His assistant answered. Mr. Hartley is in Tokyo for meetings. He's unavailable until tomorrow morning. Tokyo, of course. Can you have him call me when he's available? It's about Leo. I'll pass along the message. I hung up and looked at the sleeping child on the couch. It was 4 p.m. Evan wouldn't be back until tomorrow morning at the earliest, which meant Leo would wake up alone in this big, empty penthouse unless... I called my neighbor. Mrs. Patterson, I need a huge favor. Can Aaron stay with you tonight? I'll pay you, of course. Don't be silly, dear. Of course he can stay. Everything okay? Just a work emergency. Thank you so much. Next, I called the diner and quit my evening shift, probably burning that bridge permanently. Then I texted Evan's assistant with an update. Leo had a difficult day at school. I'm staying overnight to make sure he's okay. Please let Mr. Hartley know. When Leo awoke an hour later, I had dinner ready, mac and cheese, his favorite. Where's Uncle Evan? He asked groggily. He's traveling for work. He'll be back tomorrow, but I'm staying here tonight, okay? So you're not alone. Relief flooded his face. Okay. We ate dinner, watched a movie, and I helped him get ready for bed. His room was perfect and impersonal, like a hotel. Nothing that really belonged to him, except a few framed photos of his parents. Can you tell me about them? I asked, sitting on the edge of his bed. Your mom and dad. Leo's eyes welled with fresh tears, but he nodded. Dad was really funny. He did voices for all my stuffed animals, and Mom made the best chocolate chip cookies. She always let me lick the spoon. They sound wonderful. They were. He looked at the photo on his nightstand, a family of 3 at the beach, everyone smiling. I miss them so much, it hurts. I know, sweetheart. That hurt means you loved them a lot, and that's not a bad thing, even though it feels bad. Will it always hurt? It'll get easier, not because you stop missing them, but because you learn to carry it better, and they'll always be with you in here. I touched his chest over his heart. In every good memory, every story, every time you laugh like your dad or make cookies like your mom. He thought about this, then asked quietly, Do you think they'd like Uncle Evan? The question surprised me. What do you mean? They asked him to take care of me if something happened, but he doesn't know how. I think maybe they made a mistake. My throat tightened. Your parents didn't make a mistake. Your uncle loves you more than anything. He's just scared. Of what? Of losing you too, of not being good enough, of doing everything wrong. I smoothed his hair back. But he's trying, and that's what matters. Leo was quiet for a moment. Then, do you think he'll stop trying? No,
I think he'll keep trying because you matter to him more than anything. Even his work? Even his work. I hope I wasn't lying. Leo fell asleep holding my hand. I stayed until his breathing was deep and even, then crept out to the living room. The penthouse felt different at night, less intimidating, more lonely. I curled up on the couch with a blanket and tried to sleep, but my mind kept spinning. Evan was in Tokyo, making deals, building his empire, while his nephew cried about parents who'd never come back and wondered if his uncle would give up on him. It wasn't fair to judge him. He was providing for Leo, keeping him safe, trying in the ways he knew. But Leo needed more than safety. He needed presence, love, connection, things Evan clearly didn't know how to give. My phone buzzed at 11 p.m., a text from an unknown international number. My assistant said there was an incident. Is Leo okay? I replied, he's sleeping now. Another student said cruel things about his parents. He's upset, but managing. I'm staying overnight. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Thank you for being there. I'm catching the first flight back. You don't have to do that. He'll be fine until tomorrow. I should be there. The message sat on my screen, and I stared at it for a long time trying to parse what it meant. Evan Hartley, who never canceled business trips, was coming home early for his nephew. Maybe he was learning after all. I woke to the sound of the elevator at 6 a.m. Evan stepped into the penthouse looking exhausted, suit wrinkled, tie gone, hair disheveled from the long flight. He stopped when he saw me on the couch, surprise flickering across his face. "You're still here." I said I would be. I sat up, trying to smooth my hair. Leo's still sleeping. He nodded, setting down his briefcase. What happened? I told him everything, Tommy's cruelty, Leo's tears, the questions about his parents, the fear that Evan would give up on him. With each detail, Evan's expression grew more pained. "He thinks I'm going to abandon him," he said quietly. "He thinks you might. There's a difference." How do I fix that? You show up, not just physically, but emotionally. You talk to him about his parents, even when it's hard. You let him see you grieve, too, so he knows he's not alone. He moved to the windows, hands in his pockets, shoulders tight. I can't talk about my brother. Every time I try, He stopped, jaw clenching. It's too much. It's too much to carry alone, I corrected gently. But if you share it with Leo, maybe it gets lighter for both of you. He turned to face me. You make it sound simple. It's not simple, it's terrifying, but it's necessary. We stood there in the early morning light, the city waking up below us, and something shifted between us. Some wall he'd been maintaining crumbled slightly. "Stay," he said suddenly. "What?" "For breakfast. I'll make breakfast, and when Leo wakes up, we'll eat breakfast together, the 3 of us." He hesitated. I don't want him to wake up alone, and I don't want to do this alone either. It was the most vulnerable I'd ever heard him sound. "Okay," I said softly. "I'll stay."
Evan's finally starting to show up for Leo, but it's Maya's presence that's making him brave enough to try. What do you think will happen when he realizes he needs her for more than just taking care of his nephew? Share your thoughts below. Breakfast was pancakes, slightly burned because neither Evan nor I were particularly skilled chefs, but edible enough. Leo emerged from his room, rubbing his eyes, stopping short when he saw both of us in the kitchen. "Uncle Evan, you're home?" "I am." Evan crouched down to Leo's level. "My assistant told me you had a hard day yesterday. I'm sorry I wasn't here." Leo's lower lip trembled. "Tommy said—" "I know what he said, and he was wrong." Evan's voice was firm but gentle. "Your mom and dad loved you more than anything in the world. They would never have left you by choice." "Then why did they have to die?"
It was the question Evan had been avoiding for 4 months. I could see him wrestling with it, his jaw tight, his hands curling into fists. He could retreat now, give a sanitized answer, maintain the walls, or he could be brave. I don't know, Evan said finally, his voice rough. I ask myself that every day. Why them? Why did it have to be your dad, who was the best brother I ever had? Why your mom, who was so kind and made the best chocolate chip cookies? Leo's eyes widened, surprised to hear his uncle acknowledge his parents so specifically. You miss them too? Leo's voice was small. Every day. Every single day. Evan's voice cracked slightly. Your dad was my best friend. We built blanket forts together when we were kids, just like you and Aaron do. He taught me how to throw a baseball, how to talk to girls, how to be brave when I was scared. What was he scared of? Lots of things. Heights, spiders, disappointing our parents. Evan smiled sadly, but he never let fear stop him. He'd face anything if it meant protecting the people he loved. That's why he asked me to take care of you, because he trusted me to protect you the way he would have. But you don't play with me. You don't. Leo stopped, looking down at his hands. I don't know how, Evan admitted. Your dad was the fun one, the warm one. I was always the serious one, the one who worked too much and forgot to laugh. And now that he's gone, I'm supposed to be both, and His voice broke. I don't know how to be him for you. I don't want you to be him. Leo's words were quiet but clear. I want you to be you, Uncle Evan who tries even when it's hard. Evan stared at his nephew, something breaking open in his expression. Then he pulled Leo into a fierce hug, his shoulders shaking slightly. I turned away, giving them privacy, blinking back tears of my own. After a moment, Leo pulled back. Can we eat pancakes now? Maya made them and they smell good. Evan laughed, wet and genuine. Yeah, let's eat pancakes. We sat at the kitchen table, something I'd learned Evan rarely did, usually eating standing up or at his desk, and for the first time, the penthouse felt like a home instead of a museum. Maya stayed last night, Leo told Evan, pouring syrup liberally over his pancakes. She told me stories about my parents and made sure I wasn't scared. Evan looked at me, something warm and unguarded in his dark eyes. That was kind of you. It's my job. It's more than your job. You quit your diner shift. You gave up your evening with your own son. That's, he paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. That's going beyond what anyone would expect. I shrugged, uncomfortable with the gratitude. Leo needed someone. I was available. You're always available. For him, for... He stopped himself. The moment stretched, heavy with something unspoken. Leo, oblivious to the tension, launched into a story about a dragon book he'd read, and the moment passed. But after breakfast, when Leo was brushing his teeth, Evan found me gathering my things. Can we talk? In my office? My stomach fluttered nervously. Of course. His office was exactly like him, minimalist, efficient, slightly cold. But this morning, with sunlight streaming through the windows and his suit still wrinkled from travel, he looked less like an untouchable CEO and more like a man barely holding himself together. I owe you an apology, he said, leaning against his desk. For what? For not being present, for making you carry the weight of Leo's care alone while I hid behind work. He ran a hand through his hair. You were right. I was scared, am scared, because every time I look at him, I see everything I failed to protect. You didn't fail anyone. I wasn't there. The night of the accident, my brother called me. He wanted to have dinner, catch up. I told him I was too busy, that we'd reschedule. 2 hours later, he was dead. If I'd just said yes, if I'd been there, maybe they wouldn't have been on that road at that exact moment. Maybe... Stop. I moved closer, unable to watch him torture himself. You can't think like that. You can't rewrite history looking for moments where you could have changed fate. But I keep trying. I keep replaying that phone call, thinking if I'd just been a better brother. You were a good brother. Your brother trusted you with his son. That's not something you give to someone you don't believe in. He shouldn't have trusted me. Look at how I've handled it, shutting down, working constantly, leaving Leo with strangers. I'm not a stranger anymore, and neither are you. Not to him, not after this morning. I caught his gaze. You showed up, Evan. You talked about your brother, about missing him, about being scared. That's what Leo needed. That's what he's always needed. I couldn't have done it without you there. Then I'll keep being there, for Leo, and I hesitated, then pushed forward. For you, if you need it. Something shifted in his expression, surprise, then something warmer that made my breath catch. I think I do, he said quietly. Need you mean, not just as Leo's caregiver, as someone who reminds me how to be human instead of just functioning. The admission hung between us, dangerous and honest. Evan, I know this is inappropriate. You're my employer. There are power dynamics and professional boundaries and 100 reasons why I shouldn't be telling you this. He moved closer, and I could smell his cologne, see the exhaustion shadowing his eyes. But I spent 12 hours on a plane realizing that when my assistant said Leo was upset, my first thought wasn't about my nephew, it was about you, about whether you were okay, whether dealing with his pain was too much, whether you'd still be there when I got home. My heart was pounding. I don't know what you want me to say. Say you feel it too. This, whatever this is between us, say I'm not imagining it. I should have lied, should have maintained professionalism, should have protected both of us from the complications of mixing feelings with employment. But I was tired of lying to myself. You're not imagining it, I whispered. He closed his eyes, something like relief washing over his faces. Thank God. I thought I was losing my mind. We can't. I know all the reasons why this is a terrible idea, but Maya, the use of my first name made my stomach flip. I haven't felt this alive in years. You walk into a room and suddenly I remember what it's like to look forward to something other than the next quarterly report. This is dangerous. I know. You're my employer. If this goes wrong, it won't. I won't let it. His hand came up, hovering near my face but not quite touching. Tell me to stop. Tell me this is just professional and I'll never mention it again. I should have told him to stop, should have maintained professionalism, should have protected both of us from the complications of mixing feelings with employment. But I was tired of lying to myself. You're not imagining it, I whispered. He clenched his jaw, something like relief settling in his face. Thank God. I thought I was losing my mind. We can't. I know all the reasons why this is a terrible idea, but Maya, the use of my first name made my stomach flip. How do we even do this? I don't know. Be careful. Take it slow. Not tell Leo until we're sure this is real, he finished, until we're sure it's real. Is it real? I don't know what else to call it. This need to be near you, to hear your voice, to know you're coming back tomorrow. His forehead rested against mine. I think I'm falling for you, Maya Cole, and it terrifies me. Because you might lose me? Because I might not deserve you. You do. Deserve me, deserve happiness, deserve all of it. You just have to let yourself believe it. Help me believe it. I'll try. That's all I ask. We stood there, foreheads touching, breathing the same air, and I felt the ground shift beneath me. This was real, dangerous, complicated, and completely inevitable.
Over the next 3 weeks, everything shifted into something new. Evan started coming home earlier. Not every day, his business still demanded time, but enough that Leo noticed. Enough that instead of finding an empty penthouse and just me, he'd find both of us waiting. We'd have dinner together, real dinners at the table, where Evan asked about Leo's day and actually listened to the answers. Tommy apologized today, Leo announced one evening over spaghetti. He said he was sorry for saying that mean stuff about Mom and Dad.
That took courage, Evan said. What did you say? I said okay, and then we played soccer at recess. Did you score any goals? Two! Leo's face lit up. Aaron was on my team, and we totally crushed the other side. Evan smiled, a real, genuine smile that transformed his face. That's my nephew, natural athlete just like your dad. Was Dad good at soccer? The best. He played in high school, almost went pro. Instead, he went to business school and became the most boring person ever. The words were teasing but warm. He used to say I was the one with the business sense, but he was the one people actually liked. People like you, Leo said seriously. Some people, when I'm not being difficult. Maya likes you, Leo said it matter-of-factly, spearing a meatball. She smiles different when you're around. My face heated. Evan's eyes found mine across the table, something warm and amused flickering there. Does she? He asked, not looking away from me. Yep, it's her happy smile, not her polite smile. I can tell the difference. Out of the mouths of babes. I like your uncle too, I said carefully. He's been working very hard to be a good guardian for you. He's doing good, Leo agreed. Then, with devastating 7-year-old logic, are you going to get married? I choked on my water. Evan went very still. That's not something you need to worry about, I managed. But if you got married, you could live here all the time, and then we'd be a real family. The hopeful way he said it made my heart ache. Evan found his voice. Leo, relationships are complicated. Maya and I are still figuring things out. But you like each other. Yes, and you make her smile, and you make her smile, and we're all happy when we're together. He looked between us with complete certainty. That sounds like family to me. Evan and I exchanged glances, both of us caught between wanting to protect Leo from disappointment and not wanting to crush his hope. Family takes time to build, Evan said finally, but you're right that we're all happy together. That's a good start. Leo seemed satisfied with that answer and returned to his spaghetti. But later, after Leo was in bed, Evan found me cleaning up the kitchen. Sorry about that. The marriage question. Kids don't have filters. It's okay. He's just processing what family means now that his has changed. We washed dishes in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Evan said quietly, He's not wrong, though. About what? About being happy together, about this feeling like family. He set down the dish he was drying, turning to face me. I know we agreed to take this slow, Maya, but these past few weeks have been the best I've had since my brother died. Coming home to you and Leo, eating dinner together, hearing about his day, it feels like, he paused, searching for words, like life instead of just existing. I dried my hands, my heart racing. It feels like that for me, too. Yeah? Yeah. I keep trying to remind myself this is my job, that I should maintain professional distance, but then you look at me like I matter, and Leo hugs me goodnight, and I stopped, overwhelmed. I'm falling for both of you, and that terrifies me. Why? Because I've been alone for so long, Aaron and me against the world. I learned not to rely on anyone, not to expect anyone to stay. And now you're both becoming people I can't imagine my life without. And what if I let you down? He finished. What if I turn out to be another person who leaves? I didn't say that, but you're thinking it. And I understand why. You've been disappointed before. I thought about Aaron's father, the guy who promised forever and left before our son was born, about building a life alone, learning to trust only myself. I'm trying not to let the past dictate my future, I said, but it's hard. I know, it's hard for me too. Trusting someone with Leo, with my heart, it goes against every instinct I've developed. He moved closer, his hands finding mine. But I think you're worth the risk. This is worth the risk. What if it doesn't work? Then we'll deal with it like adults. We'll put Leo first, maintain civility, make sure he's protected. His thumb traced circles on my palm. But Maya, what if it does work? What if this is real and lasting and everything we're both afraid to hope for? That's a big what if. The best ones usually are. I looked up at him, this man who'd been so cold and closed off 2 months ago, who was now standing in his kitchen holding my hands and talking about hope. I want this to work, I said, whispered. So do I, more than I've wanted anything in a long time. He kissed me then, soft and careful and full of promise, not the desperate kiss of two people afraid of each other, but the gentle kiss of two people choosing to build something together. When we broke apart, I was smiling. Leo's going to be insufferable when he finds out he was right about us. Evan laughed. He absolutely will be. We'll never hear the end of it. Worth it? Completely worth it. The next few weeks were the happiest I'd ever been. We kept our relationship quiet around Leo, not wanting to confuse him until we were sure this was lasting. But in the stolen moments, after Leo was asleep, during quick kitchen conversations, and the glances we shared across rooms, we were building something real. Evan was different now, softer, more present. He'd leave work early to make it to Leo's soccer games. He'd help with homework, even the subjects he wasn't good at. He'd tuck Leo in at night, telling stories about his brother that made Leo laugh. And with me, he was open in ways I suspected he'd never been with anyone. I was engaged once, he told me one evening while we sat on his balcony, the city lights spreading below us. 5 years ago. Her name was Catherine. She was smart, successful, exactly what I thought I wanted. What happened? She gave me an ultimatum, her or the company, said I worked too much, cared more about success than relationships. He was quiet for a moment. She wasn't wrong. I chose the company. Do you regret it? Not anymore, because choosing the company led me here, to Leo, to you. If I'd married her, I'd probably still be that person, all work, no warmth, slowly turning into my father. Your father? He built Hartley Innovations from nothing, brilliant businessman, terrible father. He was never home, never present. My mother left when I was 10 because she couldn't handle the loneliness. My brother and I raised ourselves. He looked at me. I swore I'd never be like my father, but then my brother died and I realized I'd become exactly what I feared. You're not your father, I said firmly. You're here, you're trying, you're learning. Because of you, you showed me what presence looks like. I think you knew, you just needed permission to try. He kissed my temple, and we sat in comfortable silence, his arm around me, my head on his shoulder. This was real. This was lasting, and for the first time in years, I let myself hope for a future that included more than just survival.
The board meeting was scheduled for 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, the same day I'd promised to take Leo and Aaron to the Science Museum after school. Evan had been tense all morning, his jaw tight, his shoulders rigid with stress. "Big meeting today?" I asked while making Leo breakfast. "The biggest. Several board members want to push the company in a direction I fundamentally disagree with. Today, I find out if I still have control of my own company or if they're going to force my hand." "You'll handle it. You always do." He caught my hand, squeezed it briefly. "I don't know what I'd do without you." "Lucky you don't have to find out." But as he walked out the door, something nagged at me, a feeling that today was going to change something. I should have trusted that instinct. I picked up both boys at 3 p.m., their excitement about the museum infectious. We spent 3 hours exploring exhibits about dinosaurs and space and the human body, both of them running from display to display with boundless energy. "This is the best day ever," Aaron declared, pressing his face against the glass of the dinosaur exhibit. "Uncle Evan should see this. He'd like the space stuff." "Maybe we can bring him next time," I suggested, taking photos to show him later. We were in the gift shop, the boys debating between model rockets and dinosaur figurines, when my phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello? Is this Maya Cole?" A woman's voice, professional and cold. "Yes."
This is Linda Patterson from Hartley Innovations Board of Directors. We need to speak with you immediately. My stomach dropped. About what? Your relationship with Mr. Hartley. It's come to our attention that you've been involved in an inappropriate relationship with the CEO. We'd like to discuss this before taking further action. The words hit like ice water. I don't think... Tomorrow, 9 a.m. at our offices. If you don't attend, we'll have no choice but to assume the rumors are true and proceed accordingly. What rumors? That you're having an affair with Mr. Hartley and using your influence over his nephew to manipulate him. That your relationship is affecting his judgment and damaging the company. That's not tomorrow, 9 a.m. She hung up. I stood in the museum gift shop, phone pressed to my ear, while around me children laughed and played, completely unaware that my world had just tilted sideways. We drove home in silence. Well, the boys chattered excitedly, but I couldn't hear them over the roaring in my head. Manipulation, inappropriate relationship, affecting his judgment. They were going to use me against him, use what we'd built, this fragile, beautiful thing, as a weapon to undermine his authority. When we got back to the penthouse, Evan wasn't home yet. The boys played while I made dinner with shaking hands, trying to figure out what to do. I could go to the meeting tomorrow, defend our relationship, explain that it was real, not manipulative. But what if that made things worse? What if my presence in his life really was damaging his company? Evan had worked his entire life to build Hartley Innovations. It was his legacy, his purpose, the thing that gave his life meaning beyond Leo. What right did I have to jeopardize that? Evan came home at 8 p.m., looking exhausted but victorious. "I won," he said, pulling me into a hug while Leo played in the other room. "The board backed down. We're moving forward with my vision." "That's wonderful." I tried to sound enthusiastic, but my voice came out flat. He pulled back, steadying my face. "What's wrong?" "Nothing. Just tired." "Maya, don't lie to me. What happened?" So I told him about the call, the meeting, the accusations. With each word, his expression grew darker. "They have no right," he said, fury clear in his voice, "no right to question our relationship or demand you attend some inquisition. They're trying to protect the company. They're trying to control me, using you to do it." He paced, agitation in every line of his body. "I won't let them. I'll tell them tomorrow that our relationship is none of their business, that—" "No." He stopped. "What? You can't do that. You just fought a major battle with the board. You won. If you immediately follow that up by admitting you're dating an employee, someone they see as having influence over you, they'll use it to undermine everything you just accomplished." "I don't care." "You should care. This company is your life's work. I won't let me being in it destroy that." "You're not destroying anything. You're—" He moved closer, desperation creeping into his voice. "Maya, you're the best thing that's happened to me, to us, to Leo. I'm not giving that up because some board members are uncomfortable with it. And I'm not letting you sacrifice your company for me." "So what are you saying?" The words stuck in my throat, but I forced them out. "I'm saying maybe we need to step back, take some space, let things calm down before—" "Before what? Before we decide if this is worth fighting for?" He looked at me like I'd slapped him. "I already know it's worth fighting for." "But what if it's not enough? What if they're right and I am affecting your judgment? What if—" "Stop. Just stop." His hands framed my face, forcing me to look at him. "You are not a distraction. You are not manipulation. You are the person who makes me remember what matters beyond profit margins and quarterly reports. Don't let them take that away from us." "I'm trying to protect you." "I don't need protection. I need you." Tears burned my eyes. "Evan." Tell me you don't feel this. Tell me this isn't real, isn't worth fighting for. Look me in the eye and tell me I'm wrong about us. I couldn't, because he wasn't wrong. This was real, worth fighting for, the best thing that had happened to both of us. But that didn't change the fact that his board was about to make my existence in his life a problem. I need to think. I need to figure out what's best for everyone. What's best is us together, the three of us, you, me, Leo. That's what's best. You can't know that. Yes, I can, because for the first time in years, I'm happy. Leo's happy. We're building something real. Why would I give that up? Because they're going to make you choose between me and your company, between what you've built and what we're building. And I can't, I won't be the reason you lose everything you've worked for. Maya, I should go, give you space to think clearly. My thinking is perfectly clear. Mine isn't. I grabbed my purse, my hands shaking. I'll call you after the meeting, after I figure out how to fix this. There's nothing to fix except their interference. But I was already walking toward the elevator, tears streaming down my face, my heart breaking with every step. Behind me, I heard Leo's small voice. Is Maya leaving? Is she not coming back? And Evan's response, rough with emotion. She'll be back. She has to come back. But as the elevator doors closed and I rode down alone, I wasn't sure he was right. Because sometimes loving someone meant walking away before you destroyed everything they'd built, even if it destroyed you in the process.
The board meeting the next morning was exactly as humiliating as I'd expected. 6 people in expensive suits sat across from me in a conference room, their expressions ranging from disapproving to openly hostile. Linda Patterson led the questioning. Miss Cole, how long have you been employed by Mr. Hartley? 3 months. And in that time, you've developed a romantic relationship with him? I met her gaze steadily. Yes. Did it occur to you that dating your employer creates a problematic power dynamic? Of course it did. We were careful, professional. We never let our personal relationship interfere with Leo's care. But it has interfered with Mr. Hartley's judgment. He's been leaving work early, missing meetings, reprioritizing his schedule around, what would you call it, domestic arrangements. He's been present for his nephew, the child he's responsible for. Is that really something you're criticizing? We're criticizing the fact that a woman with no formal credentials beyond an incomplete bachelor's degree has somehow convinced one of the most successful CEOs in the city to fundamentally alter his priorities. The dismissal in her voice made my hands curl into fists. I haven't convinced him of anything. Evan makes his own choices. Does he, or have you been subtly manipulating him through his attachment to Leo? You're the one person who can reach the child. That gives you considerable leverage. I would never. Whether you would or wouldn't is irrelevant. The optics are terrible. A single mother takes a childcare position with a wealthy CEO and within months is dating him? It looks opportunistic at best, predatory at worst. The accusation hit like a physical blow. That's not fair. Fair or not, it's how it appears, and appearances matter when you're running a multi-billion-dollar company. Linda leaned forward. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to resign from your position, effective immediately. In exchange, we'll provide you with 6 months' salary and excellent references. And if I refuse? Then we'll make this very difficult for Mr. Hartley. Board confidence votes, leaked stories to the press about his judgment being compromised, questions about his fitness to lead. Is your relationship really worth damaging his reputation and potentially losing him his company? I stared at her, rage and helplessness warring in my chest.
She was right about one thing. They had the power to make Evan's life hell, to undermine everything he'd built, to use our relationship as proof that he was too distracted to lead effectively. I need to talk to him first. Absolutely not. That would be seen as collusion. You resign now or we proceed with action against Mr. Hartley. Your choice. It wasn't really a choice. It was extortion dressed up as professional concern. But if resigning meant protecting Evan's company, protecting everything he'd worked for, fine, I heard myself say, I'll resign. Linda smiled, cold and satisfied. Excellent decision. We'll have the paperwork drawn up within the hour. I left that conference room feeling hollowed out and walked straight into the lobby where Evan was stepping out of the elevator, his expression thunderous. "What are you doing here?" I asked. "What am I—" He looked at me incredulously. "My assistant told me the board called an emergency meeting with you. Did you really think I wouldn't come?" "I told you I could handle it." "By letting them bully you into resigning?" His voice was dangerously quiet. "Yes, I know. Linda sent me the resignation letter 5 minutes ago. Very considerate of her." "Evan." "No, don't Evan me. Don't tell me this was the right choice or that you're protecting me. You just let them weaponize our relationship and surrender without a fight." "What was I supposed to do? Let them destroy your company?" "They can't destroy my company. I control 51% of shares. They can complain and threaten and make noise, but ultimately I decide how this company runs." "They said they'd call board confidence votes, leak stories to the press about his judgment being compromised, questions about his fitness to lead." "Let them. I don't care." He moved closer, his intensity making me step back. "Do you know what I do care about? You, Leo, the family we're building. That matters more than board politics or press coverage or any of it." "That's easy to say now, but—" "It's not easy. It's terrifying, but it's true." His hands found mine. "Maya, listen to me. I spent 5 years building this company into what it is. I'm proud of that. But in 3 months, you and Leo have given me something more valuable than any quarterly profit, a reason to actually live instead of just exist." "I can't be the reason you lose everything." "You're the reason I found everything that matters." His forehead rested against mine. "I love you. I'm in love with you. And if the board can't handle that, they can find a new CEO." The words should have made me happy. Instead, they made me want to cry. "You can't mean that." "I absolutely mean it. I'll resign before I let them force you out of my life." "Evan, no." "I already told Linda that much, sent her an email while walking over here. She can accept we're together or she can accept my resignation. Her choice." I stared at him. "What did you do?" "I chose you, us, Leo, the family we're building." His hands framed my face. "And before you tell me I'm being rash or emotional or making a mistake, I've never been more certain of anything. The company is important, but you're essential." "What about Leo? He needs stability, and if you resign—" "Leo needs me present and happy more than he needs money. We'll figure it out. Downsize if we have to. I'll take a different job, start something new, whatever it takes. As long as I have you and him, the rest is just details." "You're insane." "Probably. Love makes people insane." He smiled slightly. "But tell me you don't feel it too. Tell me this isn't worth fighting for." I couldn't, because he was right. This was worth fighting for, worth risking everything for. "I love you too. I'm terrified, and this is complicated, and I have no idea how we make this work, but I love you." He kissed me then, right there in the lobby of Hartley Innovations, not caring who saw or what it meant for his professional reputation. "So you're taking back the resignation?" he murmured against my lips. "If you're sure this is what you want." "I've never been more sure of anything." "Then yes, I'm taking it back." His phone buzzed. He checked it, then laughed, surprised and genuine. What? Linda, she's accepting our relationship, says the board will back down as long as we maintain proper professional boundaries and don't let it interfere with company operations. Really? Really? Apparently, my resignation threat made them realize they'd rather have a distracted CEO than no CEO at all. He pocketed his phone. So, crisis averted. You keep your job, I keep my company. We keep each other. Just like that? Just like that. Relief flooded through me so intensely my knees felt weak. Evan caught me, holding me steady, and I buried my face in his chest. I thought I'd lost you, I mumbled against his shirt. Not a chance. I don't give up things I love. Ever. Even when it's complicated? Especially then. We stood there for a long moment, holding each other while busy professionals walked past, probably judging us, definitely gossiping. I didn't care. Let them talk. Let them judge. I'd found something real, something worth fighting for, and I wasn't letting it go.
Evan just chose Maya over his company's comfort. What do you think it takes for someone to realize love is more important than everything they've built? Share your most romantic choosing love moment in the comments. I'd love to hear your stories. 6 months later, the Saturday morning sun streamed through the penthouse windows, illuminating what had become my favorite chaos. Aaron and Leo building an elaborate fort out of every pillow and blanket they could find, while Evan attempted to make pancakes without burning them. "Uncle Evan, you're doing it wrong," Leo called from inside the fort. "You have to flip them when the bubbles pop, not before." "I'm aware of the theory," Evan called back. "The execution is proving difficult." I smiled from my spot at the kitchen table, where I was supposedly reviewing Leo's upcoming school schedule, but mostly just watching my family. My family. The word still felt new, precious, like something I'd never dared hope for, but it somehow found anyway. "Mom!" Aaron's head popped out of the fort. "Can we have movie night tonight with the projector?" "If you both finish your homework first." "Deal!" Both boys retreated into the fort, already planning which movie they'd choose. Evan slid a plate of slightly burned but edible pancakes in front of me, then kissed the top of my head before sitting down with his own breakfast. "They're getting better," I offered diplomatically. "They're mediocre at best, but I'm trying." "You're doing great," I squeezed his hand, "at pancakes and everything else." His thumb traced circles on my palm, a gesture that had become automatic between us. "The adoption papers came through yesterday." My breath caught. "Really?" "Really. As of 3 days ago, Leo is officially, legally, my son. Not just my nephew, my son." Tears pricked my eyes. "Evan, that's wonderful." "It's terrifying and perfect, and I couldn't have done it without you helping me become someone worthy of being his dad." "You are always worthy. You just had to believe it." "You make me believe a lot of things I never thought possible." He was quiet for a moment, then, "There's something else." "What?" "The board approved my proposal. We're starting the foundation, Hartley Family Services, programs for children who've lost parents, support for guardians learning to navigate grief, all of it." I'd watched him develop this idea over the past months, transforming his pain and Leo's trauma into something that could help others. It was ambitious, expensive, and exactly the kind of thing that would have been impossible before he'd learned to balance business with heart. "That's incredible. When does it launch?" "Officially, 3 months. But Maya," he turned to face me fully, "I want you to run it." "What?" "You have the experience, the compassion, the understanding of what families like ours need. You'd be perfect." "Evan, I'm not qualified to run a foundation. I don't have—" "You have everything that matters, and what you don't know, you'll learn, just like you've learned everything else." His expression was earnest. "I wouldn't trust anyone else with this. It's too important."
The offer was tempting and terrifying in equal measure. Can I think about it? Of course. But Maya, I think you'd be amazing at it, and it would mean you'd stop being my employee and start being my partner in every sense of the word. We're already partners. Professionally, I mean. No more power dynamics, no more bored concerns about inappropriate relationships, just two people building something together. The future he was describing sounded perfect, impossible, too good to be real. But then again, 6 months ago, I'd never have believed I'd be sitting in a penthouse, eating breakfast with the man I loved, and two boys who felt like mine, planning a life that looked nothing like the survival mode I'd lived in for so long. I'll think about it, I said again. Seriously think about it. That's all I ask. From the fort, we heard Aaron say, "So when are your mom and Uncle Evan getting married? My friend Emma says when grown-ups love each other, they get married." Leo's response, "I don't know, but I hope soon. Then Maya would be here forever." Evan and I exchanged glances, amused and slightly panicked. "Should we tell them?" I whispered. "Tell them what?" I pulled the small velvet box from my packet, the one I'd been carrying for 2 weeks, waiting for the right moment. "Evan Hartley, will you marry me?" His eyes went wide. "Your what?" "I was going to do it tonight during movie night, but—" I opened the box, revealing the simple platinum band I'd spent 3 months saving for. "Evan Hartley, will you marry me?" For 3 full seconds, he just stared. Then he started laughing, genuine, joyful, the kind of laugh I'd rarely heard from him 6 months ago. "You're proposing to me?" "Someone has to. You've been hinting for weeks." "I've been hinting because I have a ring too." He pulled his box from his pocket, revealing an elegant diamond band. "I was planning to propose tonight, during movie night." We looked at each other, both holding ring boxes, both trying not to laugh too loudly and alert the boys. "So," I managed, "I guess this is us proposing to each other?" "Apparently." He took my ring from its box, sliding it onto his finger, then took his ring and slid it onto mine. "So, Maya Cole, will you marry me? Will you be my partner, my family, the person I come home to for the rest of my life?" "Yes, on one condition." "Name it." We tell the boys together. They've been rooting for us from the beginning. They deserve to celebrate this too. "Deal." We stood, still holding hands, and moved to the fort. "Boys," Evan called, "can you come out here for a minute?" They emerged, faces curious, and froze when they saw our joined hands, the rings catching sunlight. "Are you, did you—" "We're getting married," I said, smiling so widely my face hurt. "Both of us, to each other." Aaron let out a whoop and tackled my legs. "I knew it! I told Emma you loved each other." Leo moved more slowly, looking between us with careful hope. "Does this mean Maya's staying forever? Like really forever?" Evan knelt down to his level. "Really forever. She's going to be part of our family officially, which means Aaron will be too. We'll all be together." "Like a real family?" "We're already a real family," I said gently, kneeling beside Evan. "This just makes it official." Leo threw his arms around both of us, and Aaron joined the hug, and for a moment we were just a tangle of arms and love and the future stretching bright before us. When we finally broke apart, Leo looked up at Evan with a seriousness that was heartbreaking and perfect. "Dad, I'm glad Mom and Dad asked you to take care of me, because otherwise I wouldn't have found you and Maya and Aaron." The way he said "Dad" so naturally, so certainly, it made Evan's eyes glisten with tears he didn't bother hiding. "I'm glad too, buddy, so glad." "Can we tell everyone?" Aaron asked. "Can we call Grandma Chen and my friends and—" "Yes," I laughed. "We can tell everyone. But first, pancakes before they get completely cold." We settled around the table, our table, in our home, our family, and ate mediocre pancakes that tasted perfect because of who we were eating them with. Later, after movie night, after the boys were asleep, Evan and I stood on the balcony looking out at the city lights. I never thought I'd have this, he said quietly, his arm around my waist. A family, real love, a reason to come home that had nothing to do with obligation and everything to do with joy. Neither did I. I thought I'd spend my life surviving, not thriving. But we're thriving now, both of us. All four of us. I leaned into him. You know what Leo asked me yesterday? What? He asked if Aaron and I were going to change our last names to Hartley or if you and he were going to change yours to Cole. He laughed. What did you say? I said we'd figure it out together, as a family, the way we figure everything else out. That sounds perfect. He was quiet for a moment, then, I love you, Maya, more than I ever thought I could love anyone. You saved me, saved Leo, saved us both from lives that looked successful but felt empty. You saved me too, gave me a reason to stop just surviving and start actually living. I turned in his arms, looking up at him. We saved each other. Best decision I ever made hiring you. Best decision I made taking the job. Even though you had no idea you were signing up for a grieving CEO and a traumatized nephew, especially because of that, I kissed him softly. I got you both, and Aaron got a brother, and we all got a family we didn't know we were looking for. Think it'll always be this good? It'll be better because we'll keep building it day by day, pancake by pancake, fort by fort. He smiled against my lips. I like that vision of the future. Good, because you're stuck with it, with me, with all of us. Best thing I've ever been stuck with. We stood there, holding each other, the city spreading out below us like possibilities made real. 6 months ago, I'd taken a job expecting it to be temporary, just childcare, just a paycheck, just survival. Instead, I'd found everything. A child who needed me, a man who loved me, a family we'd built from broken pieces, and a future that looked nothing like what I'd planned, but everything like what I'd needed. Hey, Maya, Evan murmured. Yeah? Thank you for answering that job posting, for showing up, for staying even when it got complicated. Thank you for seeing me, for letting me in, for choosing us even when it was risky. Always, I'll always choose us. Me too. Inside, through the windows, I could see the fort still standing in the living room, a testament to childhood joy and healing, to a home that had been